Get ready to rev those engines, because today we're going to uncover 10 colossal American tractors that you didn't know existed. These rugged machines once roamed massive fields, hauling heavy loads and shaping the backbone of American farming. Today we're going to explore their biggest features, horsepower triumphs, and the nostalgia that they stir. Everyone ready? All right, sounds good. Let's dive right in. Starting off with number 10, the John Deere 5020. Now, by the mid-1960s, John Deere aimed to dominate the heavyweight row crop category, and the 5020, introduced in 1966, was a serious contender. Now, sporting a 531 cubic inch 6-cylinder diesel pushing around 140 PTO horsepower, the 5020 eclipsed many competitors in just pure raw muscle. Weighing roughly 14,510 pounds in base form, it often tipped closer to 17,000 when fully ballasted. Substantial for a two-wheel drive tractor of that era. Now, the 5020's large frame and long wheelbase enabled it to handle substantial implements, like big chisel plows and hefty row crop cultivators. Farmers found that they could cover more acres faster, an invaluable advantage during narrow planting and harvesting windows. It came with a synchro range transmission, 8 forward gears plus a reverse, so operators could fine-tune ground speed under varying conditions. Now, one of its hallmarks was the classic John Deere styling, a long square-off hood sporting the instantly recognizable green and yellow paint scheme. Operators enjoyed decent visibility, and while the open platform was Spartan by modern standards, it offered enough comfort for long field days. The 5020's sturdy construction also meant that it could withstand the rigors of row crop work, deep tillage, and heavy pulling without constant breakdowns. Though eventually overshadowed by the upgraded 6030 later in the decade, the 5020 cemented Deere's reputation for building big old dependable farm power. Many remain in operation or proudly displayed at tractor shows, where enthusiasts celebrate it as a game-changing behemoth of its time. With the 5020, John Deere proved that pushing above 100 horsepower, it wasn't just a marketing gimmick, it was the future of serious row crop farming. Number 9, the Minneapolis-Moline G1355. Now, when Minneapolis-Moline introduced the G1355 in the early 70s, it embodied a proud heritage of powerful prairie Roman tractors. With the brand under the umbrella of White Motor Corporation, this model carried forward the Minneapolis-Moline tradition of robust performance, equipped with a 585 cubic inch engine. Some variations had a 6-cylinder diesel from White. Now, the G1355 generated about 142 PTO horsepower, making it one of the beefier row crop tractors of its time. At an approximate shipping weight of 17,100 pounds, it wasn't quite as gargantuan as a purpose-built four-wheel drive, but it was still a hulk and row crop workhorse from the early 70s. The G1355 was recognizable by its distinctive tub frame and the yellow paint scheme that proudly continued the Minneapolis-Moline lineage. One advantage that it offered was a 3-speed power shift within its standard transmission, allowing operators to adjust on the fly when encountering changes in field conditions. Farmers who needed a strong, reliable tractor for heavy tillage or pulling large planters appreciated the G1355's straightforward mechanics. Its comfortable operator station, decent hydraulic flow, and robust driveline turned it into a dependable partner in the field. Even though White Motor Corporation was juggling multiple tractor lines during this period, the G1355 maintained its unique identity. Collectors often point to the G1355 as one of the last true Minneapolis-Moline designs before the brand fully merged into the White stable. Today, spotting one of these majestic machines at a tractor pull or vintage machinery show can transport you back to a time when American tractors were made with heavy cast iron, simple controls, and an emphasis on raw pulling power. The G1355 left an indelible mark on the heartland and remains a testament to the big, bold spirit of 1970s American agriculture. Number 8, the White 4180. By the late 1970s, White Farm Equipment, a merger of Oliver, Minneapolis-Moline, and Coxshed, introduced several four-wheel drive tractors to meet rising demands for raw power. Among them was the 4180. Debuting in 1975 as a practical heavyweight. Under that silver and black exterior lurked a Caterpillar 3208 V8 engine producing about 180 PTO horsepower, giving the 4180 enough grunt to tackle serious field chores. Its approximate 20,600-pound base weight placed it squarely in the large four-wheel drive category, yet it retained a certain nimbleness thanks to its articulated design. Unlike older two-wheel drive row crop machines, the 4180 delivered improved traction and stability over rough or uneven terrain. This extra measure of control saved farmers time and prevented wheel slippage, reducing both tire wear and fuel consumption. The white 4180 offered a 3-range transmission with multiple gears, making it adaptable to various implements and field conditions. Whether pulling heavy tillage equipment across clay soils or hauling oversized grain carts, this machine provided consistent performance and a straightforward operating experience. The cab, though less plush than modern ones, gave decent visibility and functional layout of controls. Operators praised the 4180 for straightforward servicing, noting that White's design language favored simplicity and accessibility for maintenance. While often overshadowed by even larger machines in the evolving horsepower ranks, the 4180 still carved out a loyal following among mid to large-scale operators who wanted reliability and muscle without unnecessary complexity. Today, finding a well-kept 4180 at a farm sale or collector's meet can feel like traveling back to a time when White carried on the best traditions of its predecessors' brands, all wrapped up in a single robust V8-powered package. Number 7 is the Case 2670 Traction King. Now, by the late 1970s, J.I. Case further refined its foray into four-wheel drive tractors, culminating in the 2670 Traction King around 1977. A successor to earlier four-wheel drive efforts like the 1200 and the 2470, this model featured a 504 cubic inch turbocharged Case diesel engine that cranked out about 256 gross horsepower. Though not a towering figure by some standards, it was still enough to make the 2670 a dependable broad-acre contender. Weighing in around 18,000 pounds bare, the 2670 employed an articulated frame for enhanced maneuverability in the field. This pivot in the middle setup provided superior traction on slopes and in muddy conditions, areas where traditional two-wheel drive machines used to struggle. It also made turning large implements less cumbersome, a vital edge when covering vast tracts of farmland. A notable feature was the 12-speed transmission, which offered operators a range of gear selections for varied workloads. With no shortage of pulling power, the 2670 could handle large disc harrows, cultivators, and grain carts, especially in areas where tight planting or harvest schedules demanded serious efficiency. Even the cab design received updates, offering better visibility and slightly improved operator comfort compared to earlier Case four-wheel drive models. Now, look, farmers who appreciated Case's straightforward engineering would gravitate to the 2670. And the Traction King badge was more than just a marketing tagline. It really signaled the tractor's ability to grip the ground and keep going where lesser machines would spin out. Though Case ultimately merged into larger agricultural conglomerates, the 2670 endures in the memories of operators who valued a reliable four-wheel drive tractor during a pivotal era in American farming. Now, today, these machines remain a nostalgic reminder of how Case continued to refine articulated designs that could roll with the biggest names in the industry. Number 6, the Allis-Chalmers D21. Now, by the early 1960s, the horsepower wars were heating up, and Allis-Chalmers threw its hat in the ring with the D21. Introduced in 1963, it quickly earned a place in tractor history as Allis-Chalmers' first over 100 horsepower row crop machine. Rated at around 103 PTO horsepower, courtesy of that 426 cubic inch diesel engine, the D21 challenged the then accepted limits of what a row crop tractor could actually do. A big draw was its striking design. It featured a long, squared-off hood and the iconic Allis-Chalmers orange. Weighing roughly 9,500 pounds, it was formidable for a two-wheel drive tractor of that era. Farmers appreciated how the D21 could handle heavier implements normally that were reserved for smaller four-wheel drive rigs. Its robust gear transmission and well-balanced chassis made it equally at home pulling tillage equipment or running large forest harvesters. Though the cab was not fully enclosed by modern standards, the operator platform still offered reasonably comfortable seating and decent visibility for the time. Early versions had a turbocharged engine that helped sustain the D21's impressive torque, and later Series 2 models pushed horsepower closer to 127, a rare feat in the mid-60s. This jump in power made the D21 a hot topic at farm shows, where curious onlookers would crowd around to see the new behemoth in the Allis lineup. Now, despite facing stiff competition from other manufacturers, the D21 carried an aura of strength and innovation that resonated with brand loyalists. It also set the stage for Allis-Chalmers' next generation of high-horsepower models. Collectors today look at these classic orange beasts and recognize them as a benchmark in the 1960s horsepower race. Allis-Chalmers may be gone from the mainstream farm scene, but the D21's place as a pioneering American row crop monster remains securely etched in the books of history. Number 5 is the International Harvester 4586. Now, International Harvester's push into the four-wheel drive segment took a big leap in the late 1970s with the introduction of the 4586. Rolling off the lines in 1976, it showcased IH's commitment to offering a tractor that could tackle broad-acre farming head-on. Powered by a V8 International Harvester diesel engine measuring a massive 798 cubic inches. Again, think of that. That's a huge block. The 4586 delivered around 300 horsepower. Now, in its day, that amount of power was enough to pull just about anything that you could hitch to it. With a typical operating weight hovering around 22,000 to 25,000 pounds, the 4586 was made for serious grunt work. Its articulated frame ensured that all four wheels stayed firmly planted on even or uneven terrain, helping maximize traction and reduce wheel slip. Now, the design also featured a fairly roomy cab, a big deal in an era when operator comfort was becoming more of a priority. Now, one of the main selling points was the machine's raw pulling capacity. Equipped with a 10-speed transmission, some variations had a 2-speed power shift, the 4586 let drivers find that sweet spot for any task. Whether lugging a plow through tough clay or pulling a giant planter across rolling hills, this tractor had the brawn to finish the job. The extra-wide stance and robust axles meant that it could handle heavy loads without faltering under stress. Critics sometimes pointed to reliability issues with the large V8 under extreme conditions, but for those who maintained them properly, the 4586 proved to be a game-changer. It signified IH's willingness to compete with other big four-wheel drive contenders like Steiger and Versatile, and even though International Harvester eventually faced corporate challenges, the 4586 remains a nostalgic reminder when big horsepower beasts were pushing the boundaries of what was possible in American agriculture. Number 4 is the Steiger Panther ST310. Now, Steiger was already making waves in the high horsepower arena by the early 1970s, and the Panther ST310, introduced in 1977, solidified the brand's reputation. Its Cummins NTA 855 six-cylinder engine, six-cylinder diesel, delivered about 310 horsepower, making it a formidable choice for broad-scale farming operations. Weighing in at approximately 26,000 pounds, depending on the ballast, the Panther ST310 had the heft to grip the ground and power through tough field conditions. Like all Steigers of the era, the ST310 was built around an articulated chassis, which pivoted at the center for improved maneuverability. This design allowed operators to pull massive implements across extensive acreage without sacrificing turning radius or field coverage. The robust construction extended to heavy-duty axles, drivelines, and a transmission setup that offered enough gears to handle a variety of tasks, from deep ripping to pulling towering grain carts. Now, the cab was another step up for the time, providing better insulation, visibility, and operator comfort than many of its predecessors. Steiger's modular build philosophy made maintenance much more manageable. Components such as the engine and transmission could be serviced or replaced relatively easily. This was a key selling point for farmers needing a reliable machine that wouldn't sit idle for long due to complicated repairs. The Panther ST310 helped elevate Steiger's status among large-scale producers looking for a serious four-wheel drive workhorse. Known for durability and strong dealer support, Steiger tractors became fixtures on many Midwestern and Great Plains farms. Even today, finding an ST310 that isn't running strong isn't uncommon, speaking volumes about the brand's engineering. For those who love the classic lime green paint job and no-nonsense power, the Steiger Panther ST310 remains a standout icon of 1970s American tractor design. Number 3 is the Versatile 935. Canadian-born but American-adopted, Versatile earned a solid reputation for dependable high-horsepower tractors. By 1978, they released the Versatile 935, capturing attention with its straightforward design and impressive performance. This four-wheel drive beast typically housed a Cummins 855 cubic inch diesel engine, pushing about 330 horsepower, depending on tuning and model variations. Despite Versatile being headquartered in Winnipeg, their tractors were widely embraced in the American market, earning them a place in the pantheon of North American heavyweights. Now, the Versatile 935 weighed in at roughly 27,000 pounds, featuring articulation for enhanced maneuverability. Farm operators favored the 935 simple modular layout, which made maintenance much easier. If a part failed, you could just swap in a replacement without dismantling half the tractor. This approach drastically cut downtime, a critical factor during tight planting or harvesting windows. Another highlight was the 12-speed synchronized transmission, giving drivers a good range of gears to match field conditions. Whether you were breaking ground in heavy clay or running a grain cart across rolling hills, the 935 had a knack for delivering steady pull and consistent power. The roomy cab, although Spartan by modern standards, offered good visibility and enough creature comforts to keep the operator focused on the task. Because of its reliability and strong dealer support in the U.S., the versatile 935 found its way onto many large-scale farms in the Midwest, High Plains, and beyond. From pulling heavy tillage implements to tugging massive grain trains, it excelled in a variety of roles. Today, enthusiasts who came across a well-maintained 935 can still put it to work or proudly display it at a tractor show as a piece of North American agricultural heritage. It's a reminder that sometimes simplicity and raw power can stand toe-to-toe with more complex modern designs. Number 2, the Massey Ferguson 4900. Now, Massey Ferguson took a stab at the burgeoning high-horsepower four-wheel drive market in the late 1970s and early 80s, culminating in the 4900 model released around 1980. Under its imposing red and silver exterior lay a Cummins VT903 V8 turbocharged diesel engine capable of generating about 375 engine horsepower. An impressive figure that put it in direct competition with other four-wheel drive heavyweights of that era. Tipping the scales at around 25,000 pounds bare, the 4900's articulated design offers better traction and maneuverability than conventional two-wheel drive row crop tractors. This articulation came in handy when steering wide implements or working through uneven terrain in big fields. Whether pulling massive chisel plows or oversized planters, the 4900 had the muscle to eat up acres at a solid pace. A 12-speed transmission helped operators match the tractor's power to their specific field conditions, while the cab provided decent visibility and a respectable level of comfort for the time. Now, Massey Ferguson's approach to engineering simplicity meant that many routine tasks like oil changes, filter swaps, and minor repairs could be handled on the farm without too much specialized equipment. Now, farmers who adopted the 4900 often praised its ability to reliably turn raw horsepower into efficient field work. While Massey Ferguson may have been more commonly associated with smaller or mid-range tractors, the 4900 proved the brand could build something truly formidable. Though large four-wheel drive machines from rival manufacturers would sometimes overshadow it, this model remains a favorite among Massey collectors and big tractor aficionados. Even decades later, the sight of a well-maintained 4900 roaring across the field still exemplifies an era when engineering feats were measured in pure horsepower, rugged design, and the capacity to keep going until the job was done. Number 1, the Ford FW60. Now, Ford may not be the first name that comes to mind when thinking of enormous four-wheel drive tractors, but the FW60, introduced around 1977, shattered that perception. Built in collaboration with Steiger, this behemoth carried a Cummins 855 cubic inch turbocharged diesel engine, generating around 335 engine horsepower, a serious figure in the late 70s. At nearly 27,900 pounds in operating weight, the FW60 signaled that Ford was ready to compete with the biggest names in broadacre agriculture. Like its Steiger siblings, the FW60 featured center articulation, granting it the ability to pivot in the middle for tighter turns and better stability on uneven ground. This design approach was a game-changer for large-scale operators trying to minimize overlap in the field while maximizing each pass's efficiency. Whether it was pulling mammoth tillage implements or hauling grain carts, the FW60 handled big jobs with relative ease. Despite its hulking dimensions, though, the FW60's operator station was comparatively comfortable for its time, featuring a spacious cab layout and intuitive controls. The 12-speed or optional 20-speed transmission setups let farmers choose the right gear for everything, from deep ripping to slower, more precise tasks. And because Ford partnered with Steiger for production, parts and dealer support were generally accessible, even in remote agricultural regions. While Ford eventually did move away from this segment, the FW60 stands as a testament to the brand's all-in approach to high-horsepower tractor design at the end of the 70s. These machines still pop up at farm auctions or vintage tractor events where they remind onlookers that built Ford tough once extended into the realm of enormous big-time four-wheel drive iron. For many, the FW60 encapsulates a nostalgic era of American agriculture, an era driven by the pursuit of even larger equipment for even larger fields. Thanks for taking a trip down memory lane with us to see these powerhouse tractors that once defined American farming. From the sheer bulk of the John Deere 5020 to the surprising Ford FW60, these iron giants set the stage for the modern machines that we see today. We hope you found this video helpful and packed with interesting tidbits about how these tractors shaped agriculture's past. If you'd like more deep dives into vintage equipment, think about subscribing to our channel and giving this video a thumbs up. We'd really, truly appreciate it. All right, guys, until next time, keep those engines roaring and keep them fields green.